LG Transparent Conversations, the traveling podcast series powered by LG Electronics USA that brings crucial conversations about student-athlete mental health directly to campuses and beyond. I'm Paxton Elrod, and today we are in the heart of the game day chaos at the Kentucky versus Tennessee tailgate in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today's topic is exploring NIL opportunities, juggling entrepreneurship and student responsibilities. I'm thrilled to be joined today by our panelists, Christian Scott, Derrick Furlow Jr., and Yvonne Whaley. Welcome to LG's Transparent Conversations, the traveling podcast series powered by LG Electronics USA that brings crucial conversations about student-athlete mental health directly to campuses and beyond. I'm Paxton Elrod, and today we are in the heart of Knoxville, Tennessee, right in the center of the game day chaos for the Kentucky and Tennessee game tonight. Today's topic is exploring NIL opportunities, juggling entrepreneurship, student responsibilities, and of course, where mental health fits into all of that. I am so excited to be joined by these three guys, an incredible panel that I'm so excited for you guys to hear. We've got Christian Scott, Derrick Furlow Jr., and Yvonne Whaley. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey.
How are y'all doing?
Great. Ready for the game tonight.
Yeah?
It's great to be a Tennessee Vol.
It is great to be a Tennessee Vol. So let's dive into each of these people and let you know why they are on this panel. We'll start with Yvonne Whaley, former Division I softball player at Texas Tech and Pitt, as well as a professional softball player for the OKC Spark. She is currently a graduate assistant for student athlete development at the University of Tennessee. Then we have Derrick Furlow Jr., former University of Tennessee football defensive back. He is the president of X Hunger, a nonprofit dedicated to ending hunger in America. He's the founder of SLB, the agency, the first mental health-focused NIL agency, the co-founder of On Rise Mental Health Company for athletes, and he is a speaker, author, mentor for athletes across the country. Heck of a resume there, my dear. And last but certainly not least, we've got Christian Scott, former outfielder for the University of Tennessee's baseball team, where he made 2 College World Series appearances and brought home an SEC championship trophy for the first time in 27 years. We love to hear that. He's currently working with S2 Cognition, helping athletes understand their cognitive functions and brain processes, more able to succeed at the highest level. So, all right, I want to start off with you guys basically telling me your experience with this NIL world and being a student athlete and mental health, and what really led you guys to want to speak on this panel today? Christian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, at the time, NIL wasn't as popular for me, and to see the growth and how it's ascended now is crazy. I'm very happy for the athletes that are a part of that. So I'm just glad to be a part of it and talk about it here today.
I love it. And Derrick, what about you?
Well, in the era when I played, there was no such thing as NIL. However, knowing that the guys that did go pro had a chance of becoming broke in their life after sport and that transition, I seen NIL as a way that would speed that process up, either for good or for bad. So wanted to get involved to be able to add value and guidance to those guys that were coming behind me. So when this opportunity presented itself, it was already in alignment with my assignment and my purpose of life. So it was a no-brainer. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be here.
Love that. Yvonne, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's just such a special space. Like I said, I'm same as him. Like, it was new for me, like in the middle of my career, and it was, as a female athlete, people don't talk about those things. They don't, especially once you graduate as a female athlete, there's really nothing for you. You don't make this money that NFL players make or anything like that. So being able to talk about it now and the importance of not only for all student athletes, but especially female student athletes, and how we can push the narrative and keep growing that, I think is really special.
Absolutely. And Derrick, I want to start with something that you briefly mentioned. During the time that you were here at the University of Tennessee, you're right, the NIL wasn't a thing, but the spotlight was still very much a thing on University of Tennessee athletes. And so I want to know your viewpoint on what it's like to get an opportunity like this with the NIL, and what is your perspective of the benefits that maybe we don't hear about in the mainstream media that much on this topic?
Viewpoint of benefits. So a couple things. We know that the league, of making it to the league, whatever sport that is, females got a chance now because there are professional sports levels for females, but across the board, whether it's basketball or football, only a small percentage make it. So one of the benefits for NIL, it gives you a chance to put yourself in position to actually earn money earlier. Now, it puts you in position to earn money early, but it also puts you in position to get hit by Uncle Sam or taxes or to make some mistakes earlier. So it speeds that process up. So it allows you to mature faster or have to figure it out earlier, which could be a pro and or a con. But really one of the benefits, it makes you work on your brand and understanding that you're more than a track star, a football star, a baseball player, a soccer player, and you need to get known outside of your sport and got to be able to open up and show people who you are outside of what you do on the field, on the track, on the court. So the opportunity is making you realize it's a people skill game. It's about relationships, and it's not about the amount of money you might be getting paid, but who's that relationship? Who's the other person on the side of that? What other doors will that open in the future? How do you maximize the stage that the university has given you because you came here to play a particular sport? So it's a lot of those unseen benefits and values that are there that regardless of how much or how little you are making, if done right, it should put you in position. So once the game is over, because it's going to come to an end by choice or by force, that you have a better understanding of how the real world works or how to actually get ahead and brand yourself more than just an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And you two, this happened right in the middle of your college athletic career, which I think is a fascinating perspective. Also on top of it being in the middle of COVID, which is another level that we'll get to later on. But I want to hear about each of your individual journeys and really trying to navigate those beginning days of the NIL world. What hurdles did you have to make? What were the perks? What were the kind of kinks that you had to work through? And Yvonne, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think when NIL first came out, like they weren't talking about women mostly. They were mostly talking about football and men's basketball because, as we know, like those are the revenue generating sports. So it wasn't a conversation that they were having for how do we get women involved in this? How do we make sure that they're reaping the benefits just like the men are? And so it was very small. Like I ended up transferring, and I talk about it all the time. I was like, I left at the wrong time because right after I transferred, the collective at Texas Tech ended up giving a deal to all the softball players, and I was like, man, I just missed it, like literally by like 2 months. But it was just kind of like seeing how it's growing for women. It's changing a lot, but I think that just goes back to being able to see women on TV. It makes it a lot easier for companies and all these different people around wanting to collaborate with them just as they would as any football player.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's cool to see it grow. Like for me, when it wasn't as new as it is now, just to see, guys get, car deals and stuff like that. It's like, wow, like I wish I was a part of that, but I was fortunate enough to meet some great collab groups and, do a few deals. But I enjoyed it and I took advantage of it, but then I had to realize, like, hey, I have to do something outside of this to prepare me for the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Derrick mentioned, I'm more to it than just who I am on the field, but who am I outside the field.
Yeah.
So I really had to take note of that and look myself in the mirror and be like, hey, I want to make these relationships and these connections to, further myself after my baseball career.
Now, I want to follow up on that because I think your viewpoint's even more interesting because you're a part of the baseball program, which right when it started, the NIL world started, that's kind of when Tennessee baseball was starting to kind of get that national recognition. So not only are you having to now navigate this new financial and business world with entrepreneurial opportunities, but you're also having to navigate just being a student athlete on the rise of like one of the, not the main sport on Tennessee's campus, but it was working itself up. What were kind of the hurdles in that whole realm of trying to get that popularity while also kind of maintaining just the world in general?
Yeah, so everything was new. Like at the time I got here, Coach V, it was his first year or his second year. And so it was kind of weird, like, all right, we have to be established some way. So we started from the ground up and, we worked hard each and every day. We wanted to be well known around Knoxville, and it's cool to see where we started versus where we are now. And I say we because I am alumni and we're, a big family. So it took a lot of dedication and hard work for that. And just to see like, the benefits, it's really cool.
I love that. Now, Derrick, I want to ask you because you obviously work in the business side of it, the agency side of it, and you were an athlete, so you're around these athletes. You kind of have your hand on the pulse in just about every aspect of this topic. So what are some of the different types of NIL deals that you primarily see when it comes to a school like the University of Tennessee? So is it local, national, social media partnerships? What, just tell me that kind of information as if I have no idea what the world of NIL is.
So you get a little bit of all of them. However, when you look at a national, let's say if you go national, most of the national deals gonna be big box deals, and they want your quarterbacks, the star player type guys, and that's probably gonna come through the collective to some degree, or they sign with an agent already that's already with a pro agency as well. So that's where those big box deals come in. As far as everything else, from a entrepreneur perspective, you got local businesses that are around on a regular basis. So a lot of them might not understand, hey, does it cost me $1,000 or $100,000 to get an athlete to do a deal with me? So once they get educated on, hey, it depends on what type of deal it is. It could be a appearance event, it could be a social media, it could be a commercial, billboard. So at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, okay, what are these athletes' strengths? And this is why I got involved, because some athletes, you got 6 posts on social media, but somebody want to get you a marketing deal on social. That makes 0 sense.
No.
So why would you even say yes to that? And then I'm a business owner, why would you even offer that? But a better deal might be, hey, you appear at my event, at my tailgate, or at my office, and now I can draw the people or the clients that I want to come, and they meet you. Now I can get a better bang for my buck. So the biggest thing is you don't have to be the biggest company locally. Just got to have a good idea and say, okay, how can I leverage this athlete's star power to get people to see my product or my service or in a room or in the building? And then, hey, what's my marketing budget? And then help the athlete realize, look, bro, this might be a $25 deal. This might be a $2,500 deal. This might be a $25,000 deal. All deals are not created equal, but they all got people on the other side. So don't negate one just because you think it's small, especially when you're new or if you haven't been getting any work or any action. Use it, build it. You never know who you're going to meet in that process. That might open up the door for another opportunity. So I got involved to really get the guys game and knowledge so they don't have these egos, because you're around here at the University of Tennessee. Everybody treats you like you're on top of the world, and sometimes you start acting like that. And reality is once you're off this hill, nobody really cares that you play sports. So you got to start building this relationship and actually do it the right way as a good human along the way. So that's why I got involved, because I know certain individuals love athletes across the board, and some people might take advantage of that and don't know how to straight shoot them and help make sure their ego stay in check.
What have you seen as like the biggest hurdle, just from your perspective, from an agency's perspective? What has been the biggest hurdle? Just whether it be lack of information, is it just trying to get the athlete to understand? What has it been, in your opinion?
So athlete side, it's, hey, just because you play a sport and you're used to people doing stuff for you, once you sign a contract, you got to execute on the contract. If you don't, that's called breach of contract. You done took the money, finish the job. This is business. From the business owner side, it's being realistic with the ask and the expectation, or just making sure, hey, all right, we want to do this, this, and this. I got a marketing budget and the time frame that it's going to be done in, because athletes got a tight schedule. So the logistics and just being reasonable of what you think you really want out of it, knowing the goal that you want to achieve, and then don't just think about one athlete, the star player. How about you go get the whole defensive back, or go get the whole softball team? Because then they got more reach versus that one person that you think got the most followers. But how do you be creative and touch a whole team, or the whole offensive side or the whole defensive side, versus just going to get the quarterback who has money, who has an opportunity. But you can hit more leverage, more people, if you decide to be creative and say, hey, you know what, I want to do the whole outfield, or I want to do the whole infield. So just being creative and educating them on this different ways to do it. They don't have to look a certain way. Everything's not cookie cutter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Yvonne, you kind of touched on this earlier, the fact that you started at Texas Tech, then you transferred right before, obviously, the whole NIL thing. You're at Pitt, and now you're at the University of Tennessee. 3 completely different landscapes when it comes to the NIL world. What has been the biggest similarity and the biggest difference that you've kind of seen across the board when it comes to that, especially for female athletes?
I think the biggest one is people like willing to participate, but also just not from a business standpoint, but also from an athlete standpoint. In Pittsburgh, it's a blue collar city. Like, people are very, very, I don't know what's the word for it, but they're not very forthcoming with their money for things like that. And so I feel like here, like, we all know, like, Tennessee Vol fans, like, they're diehards. Like, they will do anything for their players, whether it's from football, golf, tennis, softball, baseball. Like, they will do anything for their athletes. And so I think that was one of the biggest things that I noticed that was insane to me, is just how many people are so willing to just help. And I don't think that people view it in that landscape. I mean, we see it all the time. Like, people are talking about how, oh, so-and-so is making this amount of money, but it's also like, you have to remember, like, it's not the same as if someone is going pro. Like, these are still kids at the end of the day. Like, they're still in their young adulthood. So we have to be a little bit more cognizant of the way that we do things, because like he was saying, like, sometimes they don't understand how contracts work. And it puts us in a tough space too, because from an administration side and like a worker side, we aren't allowed to help them at all. Like, we can't touch anything. Like, that's where agencies come in, where they can guide them to do these things. But the best that we can do is educate them on this is what you should do, like, when you think about these things. But as far as, like, if an athlete were to come to me, like, I can't say, yes, you should do this deal, or yes, no, you can't. So it's really tough in that space to try and help them. But I mean, it's great to see that they're doing all these great things. And so I guess that would, kind of going back to your question, just like the amount of people that are willing to and want to help and like partake in this new space that there is.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Christian, I kind of want to go back. I want to go back to 2021. Okay, summer NIL starts. Baseball is hot in the streets. We're talking about fall baseball. So we are trying to manage being a student athlete on a team that's on the rise. Now we're throwing in these new business ventures, this entire new world. We're having to learn kind of how to be an adult while also still being a student, while also kind of maintaining a social life, sorta. Talk to me at the beginning days. How was it? Like, what were the biggest struggles that you had to face outside of missing the social life and the parties on the weekend?
Yeah, so there was absolutely no social life.
None. None. What is social life with athletes, right?
So you're grinding, right? And it's hot, and you're just trying to get through practice and, connect with your teammates. Right. And, you're only hanging out with each other, probably 6 out of 7 days out of the week. Yeah. And so it's just like a constant grind trying to balance that. And, you got classwork on top of that. And then you got, if you do have relationships, you have that. And so it's just hard finding that equal balance. And for me, I mean, I did well at managing my time because I knew class came first, practice, and then you had NIL after that. So I was fortunate enough to have a NIL agency that helped me along the way, to where I can manage my time better and, be there for practice and get all my schoolwork done. So it was difficult, but I got through it, and I'm here.
I can imagine. Did the university provide any support during those beginning days of just information, classes, more knowledge, anything like that?
Yeah. So I actually was in a NIL class that helped me, hey, this is the do's and don'ts. And then a bunch of agencies and stuff came along and they helped me along the way. So I was very fortunate enough for that. And then also talking with our coach, he just helped out. And he wasn't like a old school coach that said, hey, don't do this, don't do that. He just let us have free reign. So it was kind of cool. So,
that's definitely nice. Now, Derrick, from an agency perspective, when you get a new athlete coming to you wanting to know about their NIL opportunities, really trying to dive into this world, beginning days, what's the number one message that you're trying to get across to these athletes on the importance of balance, support outside, things like that?
Well, I look at it, first thing I normally do is try to figure out who they are and, like, what do you like doing, and what's in alignment with your brand and who you are. So, like, what do you do for fun? What do you do for free? And then let's go find those organizations that you can easily be marketed into doing those things, and then you're getting paid to do it because that's something you already naturally do. So there's certain clothes you wear, certain activities you do on the weekends in your spare time, things of that nature. First thing is that's the low-hanging fruit of finding something that's in alignment with their assignment. So now, if they are going to be posting, it's already something they would normally post anyway. Right. Versus you having to completely do some stuff that you normally wouldn't do. Now that happens now, just because it's like, okay, I just got to do a post for this, and I don't even know what this thing is, but I do it. But initially, low-hanging fruit, beginning stages of you looking to create a brand. All right, what are you already doing right now that you're not getting paid to do? Yeah. And then let's go figure out those businesses, if there's some local or regional or national that do those things. Let's get you a deal with them. So now it's an easy match, easy fit. So those were the primary things out the gate. And now I done stuff that it might be a roofing company. It ain't got nothing to do with it. But you can find
loving shingles.
Yeah. You can find a correlation of just tough, strong, fast, but not definitely. Yeah, you gotta find the right words.
There's a balance.
Yeah.
There's a balance. Now, Yvonne, I kind of want to ask you, because I think from an athlete's perspective, especially as a female athlete, you have an interesting viewpoint on this. So obviously as an athlete, especially in a team sport, it's all about the team. There's no I in team. We're all told that as we grow up, right? How did you find the balance of trying to figure out how to know what your brand is, promote your own personal brand, while also trying to be a team player and not be the selfish I guy, right, on the team?
Right. Yeah, I think it's just really, it's a hard thing because, I mean, going into college, especially like in like a softball world, like, yes, we are a team, but it's like, I like to say, like, when you're at the plate, you're alone. Like, no one's up there with you. And so it's kind of like the same thing when you leave. Like, yeah, your coaches tell you all the time, like, you represent us, but in reality, like, you represent yourself. And so it's just kind of, it's the weird balance of, they don't teach you those things when you're younger.
No.
That's something that you figure out when you get to college, and then
Right.
people are kind of like telling you like, oh, you should know these things, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'm just an athlete. Like, I don't care about any of that. Like, I just want to play softball. But then as you get older and like later in your career, especially with NIL now, like, it's like I had to start thinking about these things from like most of them before they even get here, of like,
Right.
who do you want to be? Like, how do you want to represent yourself, and how do you want to represent the team? Because I would like to think it's a lot easier to represent your team, because like the Tennessee Vols, like that's what's the word? That's a brand already.
It is.
Like, across the world, people know what that is, but people don't know you. So it's like I have to look at myself and figure out, how do I do that? And I think that just comes with maturity, one, but also just being in a space where you are able to grow. And that starts from like who you surround yourself with. So friends, family, even some of your teammates. Like, I hate to say it, you're not going to be best friends with all your teammates. So it's kind of like figuring out that easy balance of, how can I do this and still be a team player? So it's a tough thing, but it comes with maturity. And college athletics, it does it to you. Like, naturally, you grow up really fast because you have to, because you're in the limelight. And so it just you figure it out along the way.
And Kristen, do you have anything to say on that? Because I know we've talked about it being on Tennessee baseball. This is when people started looking at you guys hardcore. Social media is obviously another pressure, and you're trying to promote this new brand with NIL. How did you navigate that?
Yeah, I really like how Yvonne said you're so isolated, right, in your sport. And so when you see a guy get an NIL deal, it's like, man, I kind of like that one. But also you have to do what's best for yourself, and you have to find a brand that, best suits you. And so, you kind of get stuck in the middle of like, man, this guy has all these NIL deals. I kind of want, some NIL deals. And so reaching out also isn't a bad thing, and doing what you like. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Just trying to figure it
just
out.
trying to figure it out. That was
No.
probably the biggest thing for me, is figuring out what do I like to do. Okay, if somebody reaches out to me, okay, does this best suit me? But yeah.
Derrick, I want to ask you on this. So as a non-athletic regular person, me, a NARP.
I learned that phrase literally 2 weeks ago. It
Oh,
was
really?
hilarious.
I've been calling
That's
myself a NARP since
amazing.
2012.
I feel like NARP is like,
I'm late.
non-athletic regular people don't know that, but I feel like in an athlete's sport, everybody knows what that is.
I've
guess
been
I didn't
wearing
hang
it
around enough
proud.
non-athletic regular people. I just hung around athletic regular people. So I didn't.
So no one's been non-athletic. Well,
yeah, everybody been athletic.
welcome to the show.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
Noted,
Welcome.
noted.
Welcome.
Okay.
So as a NARP, a non-athletic regular person, someone who will never completely understand what goes into being a student athlete, especially at a school like the University of Tennessee, how do you best explain to an outsider what these kids are having to learn and navigate and really just take on day to day, on top of just being a kid?
See, now you're talking. So you got the coming
Now we're
in
going.
with the background of whatever family background they got coming in. So whether they're prepared for this level of education or not, they came here to probably play this sport, but school is a part of it because student comes first. So now you get here, and your learning style, whether it's small classroom settings, big classroom settings. So now because you got to be eligible to play. So now you get here, and whether the classes that you're taking, if that's easy, comes natural, depending on how you got here. So then you get here, the family history or dynamic, the class dynamic, and then on top of the class dynamic, all right, you're trying to play. So the practice schedule is not easy because that revolves the commitment of okay, you got to be able to take care of class, get to your classes on time, and do that work, and go to study hall. Plus, you got to be able to come to workouts. Plus, you got to be able to go to meetings. The social part, that's not really that relevant. And then on top of doing all that, can you handle those pressures and those stresses? So all those are everyday thing. Now, depending on what sport, you might come in early in the summertime to kind of get ahead on your grades or ahead on your classes. And then if your grades are not what they want to be, you're pretty much here football, you're here year round, except for probably May. If your grades are good, you can stay not May master. But their goal is to keep you here as much as they possibly can because it keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
But while you're here, depending on where your family's from, you don't get a chance to see your family. Hopefully they can come to games depending on where they're traveling from, unless you're from California. So that's a whole nother variable. And then if you do get here, and if you are making some money, you're probably paying some of those bills back home for some of your family members.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother issue. So all of those life pressures then come down with being a student, whether you're that academically savvy or not. And then depending on the sport or the coaching situation, they might just say, hey, just pass this class, and you might be getting a degree that's going to be irrelevant to what you really want to do, or it might not even be relevant to what's going to be relevant when you finally do graduate. And then you got to perform. And guess what? It's new people coming in every single year to take your spot.
Yep.
So you got to be able to compete. So you do all that, and then you got the SEC on top of it. The dynamics are real. So what athletes go through on a regular basis, it got student athlete for a reason, because you can always be a student without being an athlete, but you can't be an athlete without being a student. So the pressure is real, but at the end of the day, I think you know as an athlete what you sign up for with the stage, but you might not know all the nuances that come with it. And it's a learning curve, and some get it. That's why that portal looks a little different now when it was when I was here. When I was here, you transfer, you got to transfer down and sit out. Now, people transfer. It might not be about money when they transfer. It might be, I can't handle the academic workload. Not on top of that, all right, I might not be playing as much. Okay, then I might not be getting money, and I think I should be. Or I might be having a coaching conflict, and they like who they like. I was here under another coaching regime. He ain't playing me. I got to go. So it's a lot of dynamics that come into it that it's not thought about. They just see the game day. So it's a blessing once you figure it out, but it's a journey to actually figure it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, obviously, you're very passionate about this topic because you've written a book. You've been in this world for a while. What is it exactly about this world of student athletes, NIL, all of that, that brings you so much joy and satisfaction to do this day in and day out? Because it's hard. You just listed all of these things that it's difficult to navigate, even from an agency perspective.
I don't know if I guess I would say joy. I never thought about it from the joy perspective, but it's definitely more purposeful, because when you live it and you know what you dealing with, you know what the others around you are dealing with. And one of the biggest things I learned in life, sometimes the people that are not in it can't create the solution. So you got to be the change you want to see. So as I learned about financial literacy and just how to brand myself and advocate for myself and make the best of my situation and opportunity, I realized I wasn't necessarily special, and all the other peers and other athletes that's coming around me and behind me can do the exact same thing. However, they may need somebody that done been there, done it, and lived it to show them how to do it. Versus you can bring somebody in from the outside, but if they can't communicate or speak the lingo to help me understand how what you're sharing with me, you might get some good knowledge, but I don't understand how to apply it. So I think purposeful for me is been there, done it, lived it, and those are my peers. So it's easy for us to show it and be an example versus giving an opinion.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's, I guess, the joy in it, but I just feel like it's more purposeful every single day. That's what I was probably put here to do, and I feel like if I can do that, and now it's a way to get paid to do it. So I tell the guys, figure out what you do for fun, what you do for free, and figure out who will pay you to do it when you transition. I'm just doing that.
Love that. Yvonne, I want to ask you, because you're in a similar assistance of athletes perspective and job, being a grad assistant here at the University of Tennessee. And you have a perspective to where you had to navigate a new school, you had to navigate a new team, a new city, cold weather, which we talked about earlier, we both hate. And all of that also during COVID. So what advice can you give these young athletes that are coming to you just confused, lost, they don't know what to do, and being a female athlete as well gives you a different perspective?
Yeah, I think it's mostly about how you react, because there's no, like, we were talking about it earlier, like, I'm from Texas, born and raised. I went to school in Texas at first, and so moving just to another state, but to the northern part of the country, as we know, like, we're very different in all different ways. And so the biggest thing for me was trying to figure out, like, what do I want to be? Like, how am I going to make the most of these last 2 years? Because COVID kid, so I got an extra year for free. And so it was kind of like figuring out, what do I want to be and what do I want people to remember me as. And so I think that was getting with my student athlete development crew at Pitt. Love them, life skills, shout out. But it was just really talking to them and working through all these things, because like I was homesick, I was tired, I was on the verge of graduating, so I was like, I don't even know what I want to do, like. And so it was just really reaching out to people who have been in like a similar space as me, and figuring out like how did they do it, and what pieces can I take from all these different people that can help me. And so I think it's really just about the community that you build around you, because being an athlete, sometimes it feels lonely, like especially now with social media, like they go after them, like it's insane, like after every game, like you can even have a good game, like, and they're gonna tear you down. So it's like, how do I create the community around me that not necessarily is going to enable me, but it's going to push me to be better, whether they have to tell me the hard things, or they're going to be nice to me. So it's just kind of figuring out that balance and doing that from the start, and not waiting till it's like too late and now you're really lost. So it's definitely just about finding that community and building it yourself to what you need.
Yeah. And Christian, I want to piggyback off of the social media aspect of it, because I don't know if you guys have figured out, but Tennessee sports fans are a little brutal sometimes, especially on social media. Just a little. And on top of that, you're also playing a game of failure where you hit 30%, you're a Hall of Famer, right? So on top of playing this game of failure, you have gone through this COVID season. You have the pressures of being at an SEC school, Division I, in a very tough baseball environment. How did you navigate, especially post-COVID, how did you navigate really both the balance of your mental health while also trying to perform on the field, and trying to also figure out, is this in my future? Is baseball in my future?
Yeah, so during COVID, that kind of, that was a lot of tears shed. Not a lot of people know it, but we had a really, really good team that year that crushed us apart, and guys went on to the draft. But after that, I had the time to sit down and think of what I actually wanted to do. And so I realized, hey, I want to play this game to have fun and not with all the pressure and, what do I do next? I just wanted to play free. And so when it comes to social media, that kind of brought back a lot of the mental thoughts and, okay, am I doing this right? And, you don't have to worry about just Tennessee fans, but opposing fans as well. You're hearing everybody talk about your family on Facebook and all that in right field, but to keep that mental health strong, that was a big reason why I played right field, is because I took that time to prepare my thoughts and my feelings and emotions, and to channel that when I am out there to where I can take whatever's thrown at me. And so it was tough. There was a few things that were said that just wasn't okay. But just to deal with that and to have the support staff with my coaches and my teammates and my family all around me, it helped out a lot.
Yeah. No, and it definitely helps too, being surrounded by people on your team, I think, that are going through it as well, so they understand it, right? And now I want to touch on just mental health aspect of, especially during that COVID year. What do you think was that breaking point to where you were kind of like, all right, I'm going to continue playing baseball. I want to do this for fun, but this has to stop. What was that breaking point, and how did you really implement that in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it was a lot of, self-talk with myself and meditation and stuff, and just being like, I feel like there's more to my purpose than just the game. I feel like I want to help kids. I want to help, allow kids to not feel how I felt, but to go past how I felt and keep pushing and keep striving to be a great player, great whatever, husband, whatever, whatever they may be. And so it was very difficult, because I couldn't understand it. One minute I wanted to, hey, I think this is what I want to do. Next minute it's like, nah, there's something else for you. And then I told myself, hey, let's just play fun and see what happens. And that's what helped me. And I took that and ran with it. And I was content with my career. I was content with, being at this lovely campus and, impacting lives here as well. So.
And Derrick, I want to ask you this. You're obviously working with a lot of different athletes from a lot of different sports at all different levels. So how are you incorporating both the importance of social media for, let's say, an entrepreneurial growth business standpoint, while also trying to teach these kids to maintain a healthy balance for mental health purposes?
So depending on the sector, but for example, on Rise, we do athlete mental health. So we predominantly went all professional. And we are B2B, so we get hired by the leagues, teams, players, associations, things of that nature. So when we're dealing with athletes, these professional athletes come to us, they may be talking about things from just contract, how they're feeling, past issues. So our job at that point is pretty much to let them be heard and be their voice. We talk about what they want to talk about. That's their quiet time. The kicker to that, and then why the engagement is so high and why it works, is because we hire retired collegiate or professional athletes. So it's peer-to-peer support. Like you've heard Yvonne and Kristen say, it's the support system of people that have been there, done it, and lived that life before. So in that model there, it's just about letting them be heard, be saw, and get those things off that may need to got off their chest, and they talk to somebody who done been there, done it, lived it. And there may be some technical things that they get taught along the way, but for the most part, they're in a comfortable, safe place where they can vent and voice those things. Now, when it comes down to whether I'm speaking or traveling just from me speaking on my own, it just kind of depends on the athlete. Some of them, social is too real for them. Some of them, they get it and realize, hey, I don't use it at all. And I'm like, all right, that could be a detriment as well. So depending on the purpose of what they really wanted to go and what the end goal is just being able to shoot them straight and realize, hey, social can be a tool if you decide to use it, or it cannot be a tool. Just don't expect to get anything from it. If you don't position yourself or brand yourself, it won't necessarily work out how you think it's going to work out from the social perspective. And at the end of the day, depending on what they want, you guys better be able to correlate on both ends. So I think it depends on the individual, really. But two different worlds that I kind of get a chance to be in. But just thankful for it all at the end of the day.
From an outside perspective, it feels like I feel like a big hurdle for athletes, especially collegiate athletes, is remembering that they're people and that they're human beings. Now, Yvonne, working closely with the University of Tennessee now, also being a student athlete at two different other universities, where do you think that universities in general have kind of fallen short when it comes to humanizing these athletes and basically making them feel heard and feel like a person, while on top of being these superstar athletes at these big colleges?
Yeah, I think it's an institutional thing, right? Because some places you have like great support. Like here at Tennessee, there is hundreds of people that are on staff that are here. Like I tell them all the time, like, I love you as an athlete, but I care for you more as a person, because at the end of the day, like, I see you as a person. I love you when you're on the field, when you're in your jersey, that you look great, all those good things. But it's like, I know when you go home at the end of the day, I know how that feels. And I know how sometimes it can feel so alone. And so it's really an institutional thing. And I think the biggest thing is kind of opening up that administration part of not always being coaches, because of course, yes, you get close to your coaches, but there are things that I would tell like our athletic trainer that I would never tell my coach. And so it's kind of like giving them that opportunity to have people that are just here to listen. Because I mean, obviously we know that not everybody is equipped financially to have all these things, and that's just the reality of it. I mean, in life, there's not going to always be things out there for you, but the universities that have the chance to do that, you should 100% take advantage of it, because it works out great. Like, I mean, look at me. Like, I changed my mind on what I wanted to do December before I graduated in May. I had no clue what I was going to do, no idea. And I just, in all the conversations that I was having with people, they were like, you know, you're so good at this. Like, why not try this? And then it landed me here, and I've loved it ever since. But it's just being able to be fully and completely like take off like my athlete skin and be Yvonne at the end of the day. It's allowed so much for that space for me to be transparent and have those conversations, and people to help me out and figure out what I want to do. But when you're constantly like surrounded by people who are just digging into you about, you need to be great at this, you need to be great at that, it gets tough. So being able to have people that are just surrounding them that are like, that's great, but like, what are you eating for dinner? Like, we talk about it all the time. We always ask them anytime they come in, like, what did you eat for lunch? And they're like, why would you ask that? And we're like, because sometimes you forget. And when you can't answer my question, yeah, we have a problem here. So you should probably go eat lunch. And so it's just giving them that space to be themselves.
And Christian, I kind of want to ask you too, just to kind of piggyback off of that. Being an athlete at Tennessee, did you see the resources here beneficial when it comes to humanizing and just feeling like a normal person while also navigating all of these crazy times post-COVID and all of the spotlight and whatnot?
Yeah, it was very beneficial.
Yeah.
Our thing with baseball was coach told us, have one coach you can go to and talk to about anything. It doesn't matter who it is. And so that was kind of, and we had an accountability buddy as well. And so having those two people you can go to talk to, teammate and coach, made things so much better for the mental health, and just to know that we're a big happy family. And you know, yeah, every day's not gonna be great or sunshine and rainbows, but to have somebody you can go to and feel heard, and just talk about anything other than whatever you're going through, whether it's your sports, school, NIL, whatever, just to be heard and talk it out, and you know, walk into that building and know that, hey, I'm a player here, but also I am Christian Scott or whoever outside this building as well.
What lessons do you think that you've taken from your time at Tennessee as a baseball player and kind of implemented into your day-to-day life and your now job, because you're working with athletes all across the state?
It prepared me of who I am, actually. For a while, it was, hey, my purpose is not just baseball. I don't want to be recognized as Christian Scott, the baseball player. I want to be recognized as a good person, a good future husband one day, a good, you know, friend, whatever it may be. I don't want me to be recognized as, oh, he was just that really cool baseball player. That really cool baseball player doesn't, you know, show who I am as a person.
Right.
So just to, I mean, it was really cool. You know, I've grown a lot here at Tennessee. It was a unique experience for me to be one of the leaders on the team. It really helped mold me into who I am today. And then just a work ethic as well in baseball to prepare me for my job. Now, you know, living on my own, it's really cool, you know.
I love that. Now, last question. I want all of you guys to answer this. I want you to give me one piece of advice that you would give to current or aspiring student athletes on balancing NIL responsibilities, mental health, academics, social life, being a human being, all of the above. What's one piece of advice that you will live and die by? Yvonne, I'll start with you.
I think it's know your brand. Like he touched on it perfectly earlier, that it's like the saying that not all money is good money. And so it's like knowing who you want to be and how you navigate in that space. Because at the end of the day, like, you're a person. One day you're going to take that jersey off and you're no longer going to be this person that they see on the field anymore. And after a certain amount of time, people are then going to ask, like, who are you? And so being able to start that brand early in your career, that can skyrocket you to so many places and open the doors for so many opportunities. So really hone in on, like, what do I want my brand to be and how can I keep pushing that brand throughout my college career?
For me, the best advice I would give is, for one, be comfortable in your own skin. Two, have fun with it. You're blessed with this opportunity to be at whatever school you may be at. Have fun. Be a kid. It's supposed to be fun. Enjoy what you do.
They gave two good ones. So I would probably say, outside of knowing your brand, having fun with it, just realize the opportunity and the stage and realize you still are human. And I believe you was given this stage for a reason. So how do you maximize this stage to the best of your degree? And no one knows what that's going to look like. I believe you're given a stage, you determine the size of the crowd. So whatever that's going to look like for you, you just do the best you can where you are with what you got. And when it's all said and done, control the controllables, minimize the variables, and just take massive action on those things that you can control, and let the rest of it work itself out.
Love that. Actually, last thing, what did you guys have for lunch, each of you?
I had jambalaya.
Love that.
It's lunchtime.
Okay, so you need to eat.
See? Look, that's why we asked.
It was like a Japanese place at the mall.
Okay, love that. I had Gus's Good Time Deli from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville's campus. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to tune in for future episodes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of LG Transparent Conversations. For more episodes and to catch up on Season 1 and Season 2, check out LG Transparent Conversations on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or at lg.com/us/transparent-conversations.